like I told you, I'm totally shocked, and they're so nice. They have such nice, thoughtful responses and comments, and we enjoy ourselves trying to get to the bottom of some of these mysteries, and we do try to keep in the back of our heads we are dealing with people's lives and feelings and stuff. So we're serious about it as well, but we do enjoy getting to the bottom of these crimes.
Right, exactly. And that's what all of us like too, is it's kind of weird when we say, what's your favorite crime, right? Like, what's your favorite crime? How can you have a favorite crime? But what's the most intriguing to you? What interests you the most? And I think a lot of us true crime chasers, like I like to call them, we like to kind of find out what makes people do the things they do. What makes someone snap? It's the whole mystery behind how can someone do some of the heinous things that they do.
The probably the most mysterious crime that hasn't been solved is the Missy Bevers case in Texas. And if you haven't looked into that, you gotta. It is crazy.
I haven't too much, but I have heard of it. And the reason why I heard of it, Jerry, is because I think was she involved in multi-level marketing?
She might have been. I don't know. She was a fitness instructor. I do know that.
Oh, okay. I think it is the same girl, and it came up with the Watts case because Shanann Watts sold the Thrive products, and I believe that this Missy sold those products as well. And a lot of a lot of people were trying to connect the two, which was a little far-fetched in my opinion. But I think that's where I've heard the name, but I never had a chance to look into that case. So I would like to.
You have to. It is really interesting because you get to stare at a video of the killer for about 10 or 15 minutes waiting for her to set up her exercise class.
Wow. Yeah, a lot of people are talking about that in the chat right now.
Yeah, that person was wearing a fake SWAT uniform with a helmet.
Weird.
But in that Missy Bevers case.
Huh, interesting. Okay, well, we're going to go right into it. We're going to talk a little bit about the Watts. Not too much because Jerry didn't do a whole lot with the Watts case until recently. And mainly what he focused on was the Nicole Kessinger connection. So I will ask those questions that relate to Nicole Kessinger. See, a lot of them were about the crime itself, and Jerry and I kind of talked about it before we went live, that he doesn't really go there. Do you want to explain, like, kind of how you got into this and, what you kind of focus on, Jerry?
You mean with that specific case?
In general, how did you get started on doing this, and what made you make your first YouTube video, and, kind of what you like to focus on?
Yeah, it started with Jayme Closs case, or I saw a psychic on YouTube, and I went to that psychic, and I was bored, and it was 49 minutes of a waste of my time, and I thought, she's giving me nothing, and so because I operate so differently, what I do is, unfortunately, I do get precious little in the visions I get when I eventually lock in on the victim. I get precious little, but they are pictures, they're visions, and a vision or a picture can be worth 1,000 words. So I usually get the victim, I get the killer, and maybe others involved, and many times get the crime scene, and many times get where the body is, if it was a murder. And that's about all I get. And how it's done specifically or why, it's not in the vision. I just have to guess at it. And so I get the visions, and then I interpret those visions. And most of the time when I'm wrong, it will be because of the interpretation, not necessarily because of the vision. And it's like interpreting a dream. And I used to teach in non-accredited classes. I used to teach dream analysis, so to speak, and it's very similar to that. You have a dream, you try to interpret it, and that's what I do when I see these visions. It's very close, but I'm focused in on the victim, and that leads me to these specific visions on that case. But then people come back and ask additional questions, and I have a lot of answers after that.
Mm-hmm. So did you always get these visions?
Well, I did when I was really, really young. I did remote viewing, and I thought everybody did that. And then, like in high school, college days, that I didn't do that anymore. And then I met a really excellent psychic about 45 years ago, and I was so impressed, and we did a lot of work together. And I had the guts to call the police up and say, I have a friend, and I can work a case where psychics, and we'd like to give it a try. And usually it was like when they publish, like after a year's anniversary of the murder, unsolved murder, say they're bringing it up again as a news item. And I by that time the police have run out of clues, so I thought, well, I'd be desperate enough to allow my friend and I to work on it, and that's what I started doing with this friend of mine.
Huh. That's very cool. Cool story. So you just decided to make YouTube videos because you've only been on YouTube for what, a month?
A month, and I, like before, I just either work with the police on cases that cannot be discussed, but most of the time I just communicate with them. Sometimes, I don't like to be shut down any more than anyone else, but occasionally I'll call them up and say I'm a psychic, and they go, "Oh no,"
Uh-huh.
and I'll give them the information because they feel obligated to take it, but I don't really know what's done with it, and I typically don't hear from them again. So it just was frustrating. So the success I've had on YouTube has been pretty shocking, actually.
Yeah, well, you've got over 3,000 subscribers in a month. That's pretty amazing. That's pretty amazing.
It's shocking, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people, it takes them months and months and months to get that many subscribers. So it's kind of funny when you're not even trying and you get that kind of response.
Yeah, no, I'm just doing what I've always done.
Right, and that's cool. And that's what you need.
I'm putting it out there. And putting it out there. Well, and also too is that maybe I just wasn't courageous enough. And now I'm at a point where I don't care. But when you do what I do and you put it out there, you're setting yourself up for a lot of criticism as well. But I still feel like it's important that I do this at this point in time.
Very good, very good. Well, keep doing what you're doing because it's working.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I'm gonna roll right into. We'll just talk Watts for just a quick second here.
Sure.
And get the Watts out of the way since you have more info to share on the other two that I want to talk about. So as far as the Nicole Kessinger connection to the Watts case, what do you feel was her knowledge on what happened, on what Chris did and what his plan was? Did you get anything on that?
I guess I read somewhere that Chris Watts had planned this a week in advance, but in a way it was still a Chris Watts that snapped. And I don't think, maybe Nicole had an inkling, maybe she didn't want to know, but I don't think she was involved in any part of that decision making. She certainly was, in my opinion, in my vision, indicated that she did not plan it or anything. She's very gullible as a person, and she's desperate and trying to get the right man, and she thought Chris was, and he's, on the surface, Chris he's not a bad looking guy. He's in shape. He seemed like a good catch for her. And I think at this time in her life, she wanted someone like Chris. But I don't think she had any prior knowledge to this. And then I decided I just do a reading on her, and the vision I got, and I mentioned in the video, is that have you ever seen? I'm sure you have a picture of the devastation of a aftermath of a hurricane or tornado. You see poles down, you see trash everywhere, you see roof on the houses gone, you see limbs everywhere. I mean, it is a disaster. And that's where she is right now. She's an emotional, mental disaster, but I just don't see her as a criminal, a prosecuted criminal in this whole thing. Certainly she was a big part of the reason that Chris snapped, because he just wanted to get rid of this other life so he could be with her, but I don't think she was a part of it.
Huh. Because I know that's been a big speculation among all of us that, she maybe egged it on. They did have 111-minute phone call the night before the murders. They got off the phone shortly after 11 o'clock at night. And then, by 6 o'clock, everybody was dead. So there was been a lot of speculation over what that phone call was, whether I think she was probably putting more of the pressure on him. Like, she didn't want to be the side chick anymore and wanted him to make a move one way or the other. Like, what's going on? Your wife's coming back. I don't want to be, your side girl and not see you when I want to see you, and things like that. So that's what I think.
That is very logical, and that's, could be, that may be what happened. I just don't see her going to jail. I don't. Yeah. I just see her. I see her wrecked for a couple of years before she can get on her feet. I mean, she's the most hated woman in America right now, practically, and so that takes its toll. But and she knows in many ways she was wrong, not necessarily criminally wrong, but she was wrong in that she knew he was married, and maybe he told her he's getting a divorce, but you got to be wise to that, I think.
Right. What do you think? I mean, what do you think personally on, the fact that she was Googling Amber Fry's book deal and things like that? Did you know that?
Yeah, I heard that. Okay, I'm just sort of going into a little something here, but here's what I think. I think she may go through the motions of trying to make money out of this, but for her best interest, emotionally and as a person and stuff, it would be better to just back off, get out of the way of the public, because otherwise it's really going to eat her up. And so she is extremely fragile right now, and and she needs to understand that, and she can't go out there and book a deal for being the mistress. It's just not.
Yeah, she's not an Amber Fry.
No, she is not, and she doesn't need all this negative on her. And I just think it's the wrong way for her to go for her own self. I mean, money or no money. Right. It's the wrong way for her to go.
Right. I mean, that's pretty much all I wanted to touch on with the Watts case as far as Nicole goes. I think everyone's going to continue to be torn on whether they think she had prior knowledge or not. I don't think that she'd be sitting pretty if she had prior knowledge. I really don't. I think she would be held accountable somewhat. But that's just my opinion. So let's move forward. Let's move on to the Kelsey Berreth case, which is getting to be pretty crazy. Pretty crazy.
It is. It is absolutely nuts. And I felt so sorry when I saw her mother on TV because she was she was just going through the motions, and it was really sad. That was early on, but she was in total denial, and I felt really sorry for her.
Yeah, me too. So as far as that, let me look at some of these questions that I've got coming through here. Do you think that they will find Kelsey's body?
In the visions that I had, that I published on YouTube, is that I had like 3 or 4 visions, and the first vision was I looked right into the eyes of Patrick, and so I knew Patrick was the murderer, and I almost tried to discount that because it was so obvious logically that he was the murderer, but so I said, okay, don't go there because it's so obvious, murderers, let's do something creative. But I kept going back and looking straight into his eyes, and he's a good-looking guy. He's got these good-looking eyes, and I remember those are the eyes of Patrick. I recognize them. So that was the first thing I got. The second thing I got was that I saw her lying on the floor in her apartment, and Patrick and another person was around her. She was already dead, and they were like wrapping her up. So I got that she was killed in her apartment, and I put that on the video as well. So I just try to document this. And the third thing I got was, and it's not logical, but in a accomplice, who they still think there is one, but they haven't come up with one. But there is an accomplice that helped Patrick load her into a brown, like Suburban, and he went north. And for some reason, I see him dumping her body. He's pulled over to the side of the road, and it's not a back road. It's a highway. And he dumps her body in a ditch along the road as he's going north. I don't know what state or whether it's Idaho or whatever, but I just see that, which is amazing to me because it doesn't make any logic sense. Why doesn't he take a back road and dump the body, et cetera, et cetera? So I've been waiting for them to find her body very, very soon. And it surprises me that they haven't, because I don't feel like she's for whatever reason, hidden very well at all. So those are the 3 visions I got. So I still think they're trying to find this accomplice, is where the mystery is remaining.
So the accomplice, I know you had previously said, was from Florida with the last name McCutcheon. Do you still stand by that?
Here's what for some reason, but here's what I think. I think he was probably originally from Colorado, or he may live in Colorado for the summer or something, because I saw that he had mittens on or whatever, but then he had what's the hockey team? Colorado Avalanche. He had Colorado Avalanche logo gear on, a stocking hat and a sort of a jacket with that logo on. So he's got Colorado ties, but I think there is a Florida connection, that he may have even come up from Florida to help Patrick with this. That's all I got, and on that, so I don't really understand it, but I saw Florida. I also saw him, and one other vision was that I saw him in a motel, probably in I don't know if it's Wyoming, Idaho, or wherever, but north of Denver, north of Colorado. I see him looking out of the picture window, wondering, when it's time to go back, or what exactly to do now that he's completed his task. And so he did stay in a hotel or motel up there 1 or 2 nights, and then he's driven back to somewhere. So I do feel like there's an accomplice up there.
So you're not getting anything on the girlfriend, KK.
I am not. And I am not getting I did not get one thing on a girl accomplice. She doesn't fit anything that came up in my vision at all.
Huh, that's really interesting. So you see her dumped off of the freeway.
Yes.
Wow.
And it's like I say, sometimes these make no sense whatsoever, and this doesn't. This is not logical, but because there's places to hide bodies, and this one will obviously be found, if not now, in the spring.
That's pretty crazy because, yeah, I mean, with all those back roads,
exactly.
I don't, yeah, off the side of the freeway. And you had originally said like Denver, but you don't really know exactly where.
No, I don't. No, I don't think I said Denver. I just north of where they were, and it appeared to me as he was going north and to the west was a big deep valley, but no, it's not in Colorado. I think it's north of there, but still very much up in the mountains. And he gets out real quick, rolls the body down to it's a sort of a shallow ditch, and he just closes it up and goes on. Now, these visions I get can be symbolic, like I mentioned, as a dream, or it can be exact. And so I can't really tell you exactly which one this is necessarily, but I just don't think it's well hidden.
So do you get anything about his mom? We like to call her Old Ma Fraze. Do you get anything about
Is that how you pronounce his name?
No, I think we've kind of put our own little spin on it here in my group. So
see, I read enough about the case to try to lock in on it, but I am nowhere near, I'm not well read about all the ins and outs of it. So, you're telling me, but I just always thought you pronounced it Freezy or Freezy.
I think it's Frazee, yeah, but we've dubbed it Fraze. We make it sound a little more fancy.
Oh, okay, there you go. Sort of like Tarjay, gotcha.
Right. So we've dubbed his mom Old Ma Fraze because we're kind of on the mindset that he's kind of Mama's boy. That's kind of the feeling that we're getting from him and his mom. Is that
okay? I didn't get anything at all. And I warned you that I get precious few visions when it comes up. So when you ask me these others, I just didn't see anything.
You didn't get anything, right?
Nothing. No, I got nothing about any other woman that was involved in the actual mystery of killing her and hiding her body.
Do you have like can you see this other guy, like what he looks like age-wise?
Yes,
or?
And I got a very good idea of what he's like when I was just looking at him, just like I was watching, I was like I'm in a theater. He is probably about 5'8", about 50 years old, wiry, may have arthritis, or he has a very odd way of his gait is very odd, so he may have some back issues or hip issues or something like that. It was or arm issues. It just was a very odd way of walking when he came back from dumping the body. When he shut the back gate and on the truck, it was just a strange way. But he's like I say, just an ordinary looking guy, 50 years old, and he's a friend or a employee or acquaintance of Patrick.
So he did the dumping of the body, and you don't see Patrick there with him.
I didn't. No, I didn't see Patrick there at all.
Because I've wondered if, Patrick even knows where the body was dumped.
That's a good question.
Yeah. I find that very intriguing that you came up with this before it was ever even known to anybody that he was being charged with solicitation. 3 counts of solicitation.
Yes. No, I came up with that way before, and I came up, I think it was a night before or 2 nights before that it was definitely Patrick. And like I say, I denied it because I just thought that's not a very creative solution to this. It's so damn obvious. But I finally said, okay, no, it's Patrick. Do this. And then I got it right. I think with they think they know that the crime scene was at her house, and they didn't get details. I don't think.
Yeah, at her house. So you have her as being strangled or something to that sort.
Yeah, asphyxiated. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce that word.
I know that's asphyxiated.
But yes,
yeah.
I do. I didn't see. I don't know why. I just didn't see blood or something there. It just was done without blood.
Yeah, you were totally on point with that. That was pretty crazy. When it came out with the solicitation charges, I think everybody was kind of floored. And that's probably when you got a lot of subscribers, to be honest, because, people are skeptical, and no one expected there to be solicitation in that case, I don't think.
I don't think so. And of course, they haven't proven it yet.
Correct. This is all up in the air.
So I don't know. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is all up in the air. But, I saw that guy so plain, and when he dumped the body, and I saw him also in the motel. But I've been wrong before, but it just seemed very plain to me that was the case, and he was.
You saw the accomplice in the hotel?
In the motel, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what about anything with the Safeway when she left Safeway and went home and all of that? Do you see anything that happened prior to, with the cinnamon rolls sitting out at her house and all of that?
I don't see. There's nothing at Safeway, and cinnamon rolls. I think we're just, I think Patrick likely just knocked on the door when to come and quote pick up the baby, and that's then he gets in the house and maybe lets his buddy in. Oh, another thing I saw, which I didn't understand, is I saw the accomplice being inside the house, getting inside the house through some weird door that had a latch on the inside that he was able to jiggle loose. I saw that he did that about 5 or 10 minutes before she got home. So he may have been there, and he may have killed her. I didn't see it. I don't see who killed her exactly.
Uh-huh.
But he was there before she got there. So he was in the house before she got there.
Wow.
And that was the surprise. I do see Patrick and this accomplice like rolling her up in something like, I don't know if it's a rug or body bag or sheet. I have no idea, but just there trying to get her in a position to take out to the car or to the truck. But Patrick was there at that time. But who exactly killed her, I don't know. I just don't know. It could be the accomplice, but
okay,
both,
so
of course.
Yeah, so everyone's asking, and forgive me if you've already answered this when I asked you about the body and where she is, and you went on to explain that she was off the side of a highway. Do you think that they will find her body, sooner than later? I mean, are you getting anything on that? Are you seeing them find it or anything along those lines?
What I see is a motorist will spot something off the side of the road And when he realizes it is a body, or possibly a body, I see a highway patrolman pulling up behind him. Don't know exactly when that is. I don't know how much snow they have in Idaho or how much has fallen since she was killed, but it's still going to be in the wintertime, I think. So it's going to be sooner than later. It's not going to be a year from now. It could be, in a weeks from now, hopefully.
Well, yeah, I don't know how much snow they have either. I know in Colorado they've got snow on the ground, so yeah, I get what you're saying.
Okay.
When things start to melt in the spring, it might be when they find her.
But like I say, I don't see the actual murder itself, and I seldomly do in these visions. I pointed towards the people who are the murderers, but I don't actually see it.
Okay.
And it's the same thing, that people talk about the Watts case. There's no way I could go there and see that. I would never do what I do if I saw those things.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I wouldn't want to see those things either. I mean, talk about having some PTSD. For real, right. That would be really hard. I mean, how do you go day to day with seeing those visions? I wouldn't want to see that either. So you you force yourself to kind of not see that part of it.
Yeah, I don't know if I force myself, but I never see it.
You don't let yourself see it. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Dawn Johnson wants to know if you have ever had an opportunity to help law enforcement with a difficult case.
Many times, and I've helped many times, and the Postal Service, I've helped a couple of cases, but I'm not allowed to go beyond that comment. I just can't go to cases that I've worked with them on, and many cases that I've sent texts on and so forth, I've been very, very right, but I just I don't hear from them, and I have no idea whether my comments helped or not. But yes, I have worked with them in the past, and sometimes, as an example, there was a toddler down in Mississippi that went missing, and they were out in the country, and I called the police. I said, listen, I know what went on, and they said, okay. I said, the toddler, the caregiver there was laxed. The toddler toddled up on the road next to the house and over the other side. And they say, okay, well, tell us more. I said, I don't know anymore. I said, what's on the other side? And they said, well, there's a pool of water that's about 2 feet deep. Once the toddler can drown. But I said, all I can tell you, zip, she's gone. And they said, but we've searched that pond. I said, I can't tell you anymore. Well, I think I may be wrong, but I suspected when thinking about this months later is that I think the caregiver finally found her and got rid of her body so that he wouldn't be accused of being derelict in his duties, and that so people think, well, this young toddler got abducted, and it wasn't that person's fault. So I have very little sometimes to tell the cops, but they don't seem to want to take it from what I give them and go forward. They say, well, you're wrong because she's not in the pond. So, okay, well, so sorry.
Wow.
I can't help you. But they don't, they see me as a nuisance, I would say 9 out of 10 times.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
So you haven't had them actually come to you and say, hey, we need your help type thing?
No. I've always called them.
If you see something, yeah. So do you
Yes,
feel
I
like
have a
when
hope.
you see something that you need to let them know just for your own peace of mind, like, hey, I just at least I let them know, if they don't do anything with it, that's fine. But for your own peace of mind, do you do that?
Yes, and that's what I did with this toddler because I just, the parents were working and they are, of course, devastated. And but anyway, yes, I do that a lot. But no, they never call me.
Okay, let's see. I'm trying to get through all these questions that we have. Um, Everybody's loving it. Jerry is very fascinating. The funny thing is you don't see yourself as fascinating. You're like, you're like, this is just what happens. This is just what I see and what I do.
This is well, I've been sending these things off for 35 years. Everyone has ignored it,
right.
So and it's sort of like, okay, well, okay,
right. Like all of a sudden you're like, okay, now people are fascinated by it. What's going on here?
And I know how I know I can be wrong, and I know that it's very easy to be wrong, and so you have to take this with a grain of salt. And even tell the cops, I said, I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just giving you another maybe creative way to look at this case.
Uh-huh.
And so it's not like I'm going in and saying I know I'm definitely right or anything. I'm just saying, I think it's this way. I think you guys are looking at it the wrong way. I think this is another way to look at this thing. Would you please do that? So.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. I mean, look at it from a different perspective, and it might help.
So I know how tentative what I do can be, and I've been, and I'm confident in what I do. I don't mean that, and I've had good success, but I still know how wrong I can be at times.
So, do you see any of the outcome in the Patrick Frazee case?
I don't.
No, okay. You guys, he said that he focuses on the victim for the most part.
Yes, I focus on the victim, and everything else comes into play and comes into visions. And like I say, sometimes I just get one or two still photographs, and sometimes they're a video, like a 15-second or 20-second video, just like the accomplice with Patrick was a little 15 to 20-second video of him taking her out, dumping her in the shallow ditch and shutting the Suburban and get back in his car.
So it was definitely a Suburban. Like, you see that it was a Suburban, or was it an SUV?
Yep.
Definitely a Suburban.
No, it was a Suburban, a brown Suburban. But once again, and what I mentioned the name McCutcheon. I mean, names are very tricky, and it could be Mac, it could be it may be something rhyming with that, or I really don't know. But
right.
Typically, I don't get I don't get things that specific.
Right.
But it would be nice if I could. But I just happened to see that. I happened to see a FLA license tag, and I thought, okay, wow. I've got to mention it.
So the truck was actually registered in Florida then?
Yes.
Huh. Julie wants to know when you see visions, does your imagination finish the story? That's a good question.
That's a great question, because my imagination is my downfall. What I'm getting is not me imagining things. What I'm getting is something that's given to me, and I'm not. A lot of people that I know that are good psychics, say it's their angels or their guides or whatever. I don't really know what that is, but I know that if my imagination or my thoughts, and then imagination from my thoughts get in the way, then my reading is crap. It's no more than anyone else can do. So I do not try to let my imagination get in there. It is a disaster.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's probably, no pun intended. It's probably pretty hard to do that sometimes though, huh? Because it feels like a dream to you, kind of.
It is very hard. Yes. And logic and your own imagination are the two culprits. You can't do that. Like I say, because I'm getting it from some other place. Maybe it's my subconscious. Maybe it's from outside of me. I don't really know. But all I know is that I start trying to then put it together. Logically, sometimes that throws me way off base.
Right.
And as we talk about the Jayme Closs case, I'll give you an example of that.
Okay, very good. Let's see. Do we have any more Kelsey? Let me go back to the chat. Okay, so back to the hotel that the accomplice stayed at. Did you see what the hotel looked like? And do you think it was in Colorado where he stayed?
I don't think so. I did. It's a shabby little, one-story.
So it's actually a motel, like
motel, and it's just a little roadside motel.
And was he heading back to Florida, you think, or?
Yes. Well, he was heading back, and that was his. I saw him standing in the window saying to himself, what's the timing on this thing? What's the best for me? How do I go? Do I contact Patrick? Where do I go? Do I go straight back to Florida? I mean, that was his decision. I mean, that was his thoughts for that evening, is what in the heck did I do now, after I've done this. And I have a feeling he wasn't supposed to dump the body where he did.
Oh.
I think there was a plan, a bigger plan and then I think that plan, he got afraid or whatever, because it makes no sense. There was other cars on that road. So in my vision, it makes no sense that he would do that. So I just think the plans where they meant to dump her got destroyed somehow, and he panicked and just
he kind of did that carelessly a little bit. Then it was risky. Yes. I mean, you're on a freeway. Do you see? Was it at night when he dumped her?
Nope.
It was during the daytime.
During the daytime, which, like I say, sometimes these make no sense, and it's just symbolic. But anyway, that's what I'm saying.
That's what you're seeing.
Maybe, maybe it's just saying that he didn't hide the body that well. I don't know.
Right. It might not be as specific as you're seeing it.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
I think everybody else joins me in the sentiment that, we appreciate your honesty, that you're not trying to make this something that it's not. And you're not taking, the gift that you have and embellishing it at all. I think we see that a lot. And I think that's what makes a lot of people so skeptical. But I think that everybody appreciates that you keep it real and you're honest. And if you don't see something, you don't make it up and say you do, to kind of finish the story, per se.
I do it for a real good reason, is that when I then add to it, if I start to say, okay, here are what I saw in my visions, now I try to put all the pieces together and using my imagination. Most of the time it's wrong.
Right.
So I just try to say what I see and go with the obvious. And that was, like I say, once again, the mistake I made with Jayme Closs when I thought that she was deceased. So
yeah, let's move on to the Closs case. I know this is the big buzz, with her being found safe yesterday. Everyone was just elated that, after all this time, almost 90 days, that this girl was alive and okay. I guess the first thing that we will just kind of get out of the way is that you initially said that, she was going to be found deceased. So do you want to kind of talk about that?
Yes. I first, well, I'll just tell you the 2 or 3 visions I had. The first vision was I saw a young man, dark hair, standing at the sink in their house arguing like crazy. He was just very, very angry. So that's the first vision I got, and that was the murder.
This was in Jayme's house, you mean?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And I had firmly felt that, and it doesn't look like this is the case, I'd firmly felt that he had been there once before. And then later on, I think it was the second reading I did, I did see maybe a middle-aged man killing the parents. And the younger guy, and I said he was 19 with dark hair, he's the one that abducted, because when he was at the sink, he didn't have a gun and of any type. And I thought there was a couple reasons. One is he wasn't the killer, and 2 is he had been there once before, and maybe this was a scene from the week before. But so I don't really know, and I understand that there's no connection at all between the killer and the Closs family. They had never run across each other. That is that what you've gotten so far?
Yeah, I mean, we don't know the connection. We don't know how he knew her,
I know, it's crazy. But
with
anyway,
them living so far apart from one another, it's not like they were even in the same town. What I did find out, Jerry, was that, and I don't know if this has been confirmed, but this is what I've heard, is that he worked for the Jenny O turkey factory where her parents worked for one day 3 years ago, which is odd, but 3 years ago, she would have been 10 and he would have been like 17 years old. Or 18, probably just turned 18. But yeah, that's an odd thing. And he only worked there a day.
It's going to be interesting. Being on vacation, I don't get any news, but it'll be interesting to see how that connection was made. I just don't know, but I felt like there was a connection. I felt, and I said it in the video, I think he lives right down the street. I think he's in the community. So, I mean, I totally missed that, but I saw him arguing in the kitchen, and to me that meant, well, he's been in the house before, and I did get that he was living close by. So,
do you feel like he had a connection to Jayme at that point? Like, as far as her communicating with him directly? Or you just see him arguing with who? Her father, or?
Well, unfortunately, I'm sitting at the kitchen table, and the people he's arguing with are behind me. I didn't see that, but yes, I think it's the parents, particularly the father. And I think and what I felt all along was I felt he was in love with Jayme and wanted to date her. And the father was outraged, and the guy came back with the purpose of killing him. But that's not what the police are saying. Police are saying that there's no connection at all. But that's what I said on my video, and it doesn't seem to be. I mean, I'm okay with my description of the killer, and the fact that Jayme was one of the reasons the main reason he was there, and that he hated the father because he wouldn't let Jayme date him, and that was my theory based on these visions all along.
So, what is your theory? Was originally that she was going to be found deceased.
Yes.
So,
and that came from a vision of people searching for her in the spring because there's no snow or anything. And I see a couple of guys, there's about 4 or 5 guys, and I see a couple of guys raise up some brush, and there's a whole bunch of wet leaves under this brush, sticks and stuff, and I'm there looking, and I can't see her. And so they look and look, and they can't see her, but I thought that's where she would be, and so I told the people, my audience, I said, they're going to find her, but she's almost totally hidden from the naked eye, that you're going to need cadaver dogs. So I totally misinterpreted that vision. I think that vision was telling me that you're looking under the brush and you're looking at all these hiding places under leaves and stuff, and there's no Jayme, which would mean she's not dead. They're not going to find her buried somewhere or hidden somewhere. But I interpreted incorrectly. And so I interpreted the fact that they're going to have to, and I said it in the video, that they're going to have to use cadaver dogs to find her, because she's almost hid from normal view. So that's how wrong, as I said, that's how wrong this can go in interpreting it.
Right. I get what you're saying. So you can see something, and it's all an interpretation on how you interpret it, and you may not see enough to kind of really get the full picture. So you kind of, yeah,
exactly. I mean, and every other reading that I do, if I see a person, I mean, if a person is dead, I will typically see them dead, or I'll see them in spirit form. They're or they're above the ground, floating above the ground or something. And here, I was told there is no Jayme dead. There is no Jayme here, but I didn't interpret that way at all at first.
Well, and that makes sense. I mean, it's not an exact science, and
it's not.
You're human, but I think that the fact that she was, in the woods, thank God you interpreted it wrong, I mean,
happy as I can be.
Right.
About it. I went on my channel and I posted the comment that, oh my God, I'm so happy that I screwed up.
Right, exactly.
I mean, it is a miracle that she's alive. I'm shocked.
It really is. Because, you know how statistics are, and being that it was 3 months, wow.
I know. Wow. I know. I'm just really anxious to find out more about this guy and how, the Closs house is not like it's on the highway or something. How did he know to go there? I don't get it.
I don't get it either. And one of my thoughts was, maybe, I know they were involved at their church, and they had just went to a picnic that day at the church. Oh. So maybe it was a connection with the church. I'm not sure, but it is very curious, and I will be very interested to find out more about this kid too, and his, obsession with, if it was an obsession with Jayme or who, I don't know. I mean, it's just so bizarre. It really is bizarre.
It is. It is crazy, but I just, the big mystery is how he ever came across Jayme, not having lived close by or anything.
So you don't think that this kid was actually the killer?
Well, I think it's pointed out that he is, but I did 2 readings. The first reading was that he was the killer, and the vision that I saw him at the sink was the week before, arguing with his father. But And then I had another vision where there was someone else involved in it, who was older and killed the dad. So I think the facts are saying that this young kid is in actuality the killer.
Wow.
So but how the killer met Jayme, knew where she lived, etc., is going to be, I think, really interesting story.
Yeah, I know it baffles me how he's connected to her. I've always, I always kind of thought, when this happened, the first thing that my mind went to was her communicating with someone online. Because you hear about that so often, either these girls are catfished and lied to about who's really on the other end, and they think it's a younger guy than it is. But, from what I've learned, she didn't have her own phone even. She used her mom's phone. And they had one computer in the house. So it's not like she, had a huge social media presence from what I understand. Which makes it even more baffling because that's typically, that's typically how these kids are, getting in contact with these predators.
Yeah, no, it is baffling, and I'll be curious here over the next few months. But I'm glad, at least for her, her life, she's spared, and
absolutely.
She's going to deal with her parents.
So someone had a question about you, seeing someone deceased, or them needing cadaver dogs. Do you think that this was not his first victim?
I don't have a sense of that, and I did not see the cadaver dogs. That was what I deduced from that vision. I just saw the men raising up and looking under the leaves and so forth, and they couldn't see it. So I came away with telling my audience that I think they're going to find her, but she's almost invisible to the naked eye. They need cadaver dogs. So I didn't actually see a cadaver dog.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And I don't really know about his past. I didn't get that. And I got him looking a little different. I got him as, I don't know how tall he is or anything. I just got him looking a little skinnier and longer hair. And I understand, I think I read a comment where Jayme said that he shaved his hair before he abducted her because he was very careful not to leave DNA evidence at the crime scene. So he apparently had longer hair.
Ah, okay.
But I think I read that somewhere, and I thought, oh, okay. But I don't know. He looks stocky to me, but I saw a taller guy. So, what I see is more, like I say, many times symbolic.
Yeah. So someone wanted to know, when you get these visions, how does that happen? Like, what do you have to sit and focus? Does it just pop in your mind? I mean, how does that go?
What I do is, someone will say, I've been doing a lot of private readings, which has taken a lot of time, but some of these people need to know. And what I do is I say, give me the name, the date of disappearance or the catastrophe, whatever it was, and where. And so I Google that, and then I read an account or accounts of it. So I get the general facts in my head, and just sort of let it go for an hour or two. Then I go back into just a real light trance, and the trance is I can come in and out of it because I want to remember it, and at the same time I'm also unfortunately checking it for logic, but which is not necessarily a good thing. So it's just a light trance, and typically what I get first and maybe the second vision is typically pretty accurate. After that, I go lukewarm. These other visions, that if I go back to them and do another reading on that same event, the visions I get are not very accurate. So it's the first few milliseconds of visions that I get right in the beginning, and those are what I have to go with. So it's and sometimes when I don't get anything, it feels exactly like writer's block. It's exactly the frustration a writer would get when he can't think of anything.
Oh, I hate that feeling too. I hate that's like on the tip of your tongue.
Feeling.
It's like, yeah.
Yeah, you feel like a sixth grader.
Yeah.
And so when I'm not able to get into that trance or relax or whatever, then I get frustrated, and I do feel exactly like that.
Mm-hmm. So what do you do at that point? Just kind of, all right.
I give it up.
Yeah, just walk away from it.
I give it up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, walk away, and then I let it come back to my mind. As I'm doing other things, menial things, it'll come back in my mind, and I know, okay, it's still there. I can go back. I feel a little more relaxed.
Yeah, because you probably get into like the state where you're like trying too hard,
right.
and and it's just not going to happen. You can't force it.
And I'm trying lately, because I've gotten so many requests, and I've been doing too much, and so I don't want the quality to drop by doing too many of these. And but I do as much as I can, but I want to keep the quality up there.
So do you strictly, like, if I were to want to, just have like a one-on-one conversation with you, do you just do like unsolved things, or if someone gives you, a scenario, can you try to tune into that? And do you do it on the spot, or is it something that you have to kind of take and kind of work on your own, in your own time?
Yeah, I do it on my own time. I'm not, I've done readings on the spot. I've worked for charities, doing readings and so forth. And, but I just don't know how good that is. So I get a lot of requests from comments on my YouTube videos. I get a lot of requests that how can I get this solved? I've got to, and they'll go over something that's very meaningful. And I just try to stay with like new cases, or if it's a relative who's really, really struggling because they need some answers, I'll help them also.
I get it.
They just need to, so I don't really just do, years ago, I had a little website where I charged, and most of my clients were 18-year-old girls who wanted to know if the man she's in love with now is her soulmate and lover for the rest of her life, and I'd say no. and thanks for the $35, but so I didn't get a lot of referrals.
Right.
but it's exactly how I felt. These girls were, there's so much they needed to do, and education and all this, and that's all they cared about was, this male that was involved with. They were involved in. So that was most of my clients, and I got really tired of that really quickly, and so shut it down.
Yeah. So you're trying to keep it kind of.
So I don't charge for anything now.
Wow. Okay. So, what was, if you are comfortable sharing, what is your line of business? What do you do for a living?
I'm retired, but I graduated as an engineer, and I was a lousy engineer. I was a much better mathematician, and then I changed over and I was a stockbroker.
Wow. Jerry's one smart cookie, you guys.
Well, I don't know about that, but anyway, I got through engineering school.
Well, that's an accomplishment in itself. Trust me. Yes, everybody's saying smart man. Do you have a website of your own? People are asking, or just the YouTube channel?
I don't. Just the YouTube channel. I mean, you can just Google psychic Jerry Morris, and it'll come up there.
Yeah, we've been sharing it. My moderators have been sharing it in the chat and asking people to subscribe. So that is going to be your main vessel to get to Jerry is the YouTube channel.
Yep, that's all I do. So no, I don't have a website. This is all fairly new.
Yeah, he blew up in a month's time, you guys. He did not expect it. What made you sit down though and do your first? Did you do it by yourself? Did you have someone that kind of said, "Hey, you should do this. You should make a video on YouTube"? Or
I was looking at a case. I've always been interested in crime, and I've always been interested in psychology and what you can do with your brain. And I sat down 6 weeks ago, and this YouTube advertisement came up of this psychic doing work on this one case that I was interested in, and I went on there, and it was 49 minutes waste of my time. It was horrible. And the person didn't say anything really, and I thought, oh my gosh, I said, I'll be just the opposite. I won't have enough to say, but I'll get to the point that I thought, I'm going to do this. And so I went out, and the next day I put the first one together.
Very cool. Well, everybody's glad you did.
Yeah, well, it's good. I just talk with so many nice people, and and I get the criticism, and I'm a big boy. I can handle that, and but as long as I stay true to this, if I don't get away from it, that I just talk, with my wife that that's what I've got to be very careful of. Is not get away from this. Don't try to add on to it. Don't try to.
Yep.
That's the key to it, and I've even thought on some of these cases is I'll just tell exactly what I saw, and I'll let my viewers interpret this. And I think that's a heck of an idea. Is that because I'm not any better interpreting it than anyone else, and so you get a collective consciousness out there, people writing in about that's what it would mean, and blah blah blah. I think it could be very accurate.
Yeah, I think you got a good thing going. I think be staying real to yourself, and what you do and what you see is going to be your key for sure. Very, very interesting. We have a couple cases that we have been working on. One specifically in Michigan by me. My friend Oni has his own channel. It's True Crime and Gossip. And him and I have done this for years in helping people, get the word out about their loved ones. Because, it's crazy how many people go missing and don't make the media. No one knows about it. We have a mother in Michigan who's still looking for her daughter. There was drugs involved. So, just saying that right off the bat, people don't, she was a drug addict, but she's still someone's daughter, and
exactly,
she deserves to be found. And I think her mom has come to the conclusion she's not here anymore, but, wants to find her and find out what happened to her. It was really, really weird circumstances, but I would love to kind of tell you more about that, offline.
What was her name?
Her name is Brittany Shank.
I've been asked by my viewers.
Oh, you have?
To look into that. Her body has not been found?
It has not, no. And her mom has been out searching. In the beginning, the cops weren't helping her. She was out there with a group that she put together, just trying to find her daughter. And she has yet to find her.
Okay. I may have done a little preliminary work on that, but I'll look into that and let you know whether it's something that I want to work with or not.
Yeah,
But I know that I've gotten a request for her, Brittany Shank. Yep.
Yeah, and you can look up, there are some articles out there about her and, interviews with her mom and stuff like that you could look at.
So she went missing and okay.
Yeah, she was in a car. She was at her grandmother's house and she did laundry over there and she had a guy there with her and she left. And from what I remembered, the car was found abandoned. She had run to a couple homes looking for help.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, and she was barefoot, I believe, and her arms were bleeding. And yeah. So the man she went was an older man. He didn't have signal on his phone. She took off, went to another house, and it was a 17-year-old kid, and he was afraid to answer the door because he didn't know what was going on. And then that was it. That was the last time she was seen.
Okay. So, I remember reading that. I don't know, for some reason I didn't get into that, but I'll look at it again.
Yeah. I mean, it would be really interesting to have you on again, to talk about any of this stuff. Everybody is really interested and loving it and subscribing to your channel. And I really appreciate you taking time out of your vacation to talk with me. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate you asking. Did you have another case that you said you had an interest in?
It was just that one, the Brittany Shanks, and
okay.
Yeah, there's a lot that comes up. There's those three were what my group, when I asked, what do you want me to talk to him about? It was Watts, Closs, and Frazee. And I can't even say Frazee anymore. It's Frazee. But everyone has in here. I mean, I've got, let's see how many people are in here right now. 249, it looks like. And I mean, the messages are just coming across like, thanks, Jerry. We have so much respect for you. Please come back. So a lot of interest there.
Jay, I think you do a good job, and I'd be happy to. And we'll talk about another case or two that I've worked on.
Yeah, that'd be great. If you could, come on and just tell us, about some of your experiences and things like that. Sure. That's super interesting too.
I can do that.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much again, and enjoy the rest of your vacay. I wish I was where it was 81 degrees.
Okay, I will do that.
Okay, you have a good night.
Okay, good night, Jay.
Okay, bye-bye.